With a former WWE star reflecting on getting cut from AEW and more, this is Wrestling Hub. My name is John, and you're watching the Wrestling Report for May 5th. Before we get into the rest of the video, make sure you subscribe to Wrestling Hub and turn on all notifications to stay up to date with everything in the world of pro wrestling. Also, don't forget to follow us on Instagram at WrestlingHubOfficial, and also follow us on Twitter at Wrestling_Hub. With AEW and New Japan set to collaborate for their Forbidden Door pay-per-view on June 26th, WrestleTix has reported that the event sold out almost instantly. This one is an instant sellout. Stay tuned, as some sections they are holding back on could open up, but they need some seats for the general public on sale. As of now, the setup will be in the neighborhood of 14K unless they expand this map and open limited view seats. Following a release from WWE last year, Ember Moon recently would criticize the company for telling NXT stars to wear more revealing ring gear. On the Hall of Fame podcast, Booker T touched on Moon's comments. "You just never know what the future brings, or what the future holds. And putting yourself in a bad situation to where there may be a bridge that you can't cross back over serves you no purpose more than anything. And I just don't know why she made the comments. Oh, just like, say for instance, throwing Mandy Rose in there, or even put Mandy Rose's name out there, you know? Mandy Rose might like the way she goes out and dresses. She might like the role that she's playing. It might benefit her very, very well to play that role. At the end of the day, everybody is going to have a role. Okay, whether you want to take your role a little bit further than the next person, you know, that's up for debate. I mean, that's up to chance or whatever. But I do know if it's something that the company wants and it's something that they're talking about inside the company, I don't think it's something that they wanted anybody outside of that meeting to actually know about. And that right there just kind of, you know, makes me feel a certain way about it. During tapings for AEW Dark Elevation, the power would go out when Nyla Rose and Sky Blue were supposed to have a match. On Wrestling Observer Radio, Meltzer discussed what happened. Did you know they had a power failure? Did you hear about that? That was actually before the show started. Max Caster was wrestling Cheeseburger, and Cheeseburger was very, very over, which was the second time they used Cheeseburger, and he was very over both times. The entrance and the announcing place all of a sudden went dark, so they did the match, Max won, then they did another match that they announced, which was Sky Blue and Nyla Rose, and they just said, "This match is only for you fans in the arena, and it will never air," because they couldn't tape it because they had the power failure or whatever it was. So luckily they got the thing fixed by 8 o'clock and there was no problem with Dynamite. The scheduled Dark Elevation main event was Keith Lee and Swerve Strickland against Nick Camarado and QT Marshall, and Lee and Strickland won. That was taped after Dynamite, so then they went to Rampage. Being on the AEW Unrestricted podcast, Samoa Joe spoke about his time as a talent scout for WWE, saying he got inspiration for that from William Regal. Yeah, when I was with WWE, I was heavily involved in the scouting department, and right now I kind of keep those eyes open and keep those eyes out there for a different purpose. Obviously, you want to have some of the best up-and-comers coming into your company, and if I can help facilitate that for AEW, I'd be more than happy too. I've learned to appreciate it and like it because of men like William Regal, who, at the height of their careers, took time to give me advice and not just show me a path. It wasn't, "Hey, I'll put in a word for you, I'll do this." He was like, "No, here's the path. If you choose to follow it, you can find success." And it's just something that's kind of missing in the industry as a whole. You know, there's just not a lot of guys who have that experience kind of going back and having honest discussions with dudes about what the industry is like, what this business really is, breaking down the numbers, and not just being grandiose and bragging about how you're awesome. And this is how much you did, and this and this. Every empire is built with a plan. The problem is, we don't talk about the plan enough. We just talk about the empire. I'd like to change that. Anytime I can offer a word of advice to somebody young and up and coming who wants to put themselves in the best possible position to succeed, which I think is vitally important to anybody in our industry, is putting yourself in a position to be successful, not just waiting for something to break or happen, is a big asset bank of our knowledge, which isn't shared enough, and I'd like to see that happen more. After Cody Rhodes left AEW for WWE, his reality show Rhodes to the Top on TBS was not renewed for an additional season, which left open a slot for a new program. On Wrestling Observer Radio, plans for the show were revealed with it said, the gist of the show is that it's going to be backstage at AEW and how they plan things, and it's going to be interviews and things building the pay-per-views and the backdrop of how they make the pay-per-views and the matches and things like that. Building up the different major pay-per-view shows, but it probably will be reality show format, kind of like Rhodes to the Top, in the sense that they'll be building up stuff that was months ago as opposed to building up the current show. I think that's what'll happen. In some ways it sounds similar to the Formula 1 show on Netflix, which has led to a big increase in popularity of Formula 1 in the United States to the point that they're running these races at 9 a.m. that are doing the same kind of numbers as Dynamite or Raw. In the same range as Dynamite and Raw, except it's a 9 a.m. on Sunday morning and 6 a.m. Pacific time on Sunday morning. It's good news. Some people are trying to make it as better news than it really is, in the sense that it's like, see, they're looking at adding another show, so therefore Discovery is all fine with this, when in reality this was all greenlit long before Discovery. It's just filling the time slot, most likely, of Rhodes to the Top, which was already greenlit. So it's basically a replacement for another wrestling show as opposed to adding new content. I know they were working on other stuff, there are different shows in development, so they could be adding more stuff, which could be a good sign, but that's the basic gist. With Matt and Jeff Hardy reunited in AEW looking to prove they are the greatest tag team, it seems the company is hoping to put on a match between them and the Young Bucks, with Meltzer pointing out, I think the Young Bucks and Hardys is on the Vegas pay-per-view. That's going to be a loaded show. I think that there's already like 9-10 matches if you look at everything that's there between the two Owen Hart Cup finals and the title match that we already know of and things like that. With former WWE star Ryback recently tweeting about Vince McMahon and calling the WWE chairman's mother a whore, Booker T said on his Hall of Fame podcast that he has no respect for the big guy. When you're talking about somebody that you don't know, that right there for me is taking it to another level, saying something just personally, just outright stupid, nasty, however you want to call it. My thing is he's looking for somebody to blame. Okay, I have no problem or personal issues with Ryback or anything like that, but I'm not someone that hides up under a rock or anything, or that's afraid to tackle a situation like this one right here. My thing is this, Ryback didn't make it in the WWE, right? That's a fact. He didn't make it in WWE. Why would he even want to have any memory of WWE and want to carry a name like Ryback if he feels so negative about what this company has done to you? That right there says a whole lot as far as I'm concerned. Me personally, I don't have a whole lot of respect for someone like that, you know, me personally. If I'm gonna say something like that about someone, I have to really despise them, and it's not going to be because of a work issue or anything like that, or because I didn't get a push. But a person that says something like that, I just do not have a lot of respect for them. The thing is, if I saw him in his face, I'll tell him. I don't have a lot of respect for you at all, if any. Seriously, that's just the type of person I am. I do know if I ever was to run across Ryback ever again in any form, he would not be receiving a handshake from me and me saying, hey, what's up, Ryback? Ryback is on the list as far as I'm concerned. As Ryback recently blamed WWE for suppressing his Twitter account, he took to social media today to claim it's not whining or complaining when you're fighting for your right to be seen from a multi-billion-dollar evil corporation who tried to take your social media but couldn't, and instead had you restricted everywhere to silence you. The truth is going to win. I will win. At WrestleMania 35, Rey Mysterio would face Samoa Joe for the US title, where he would be defeated in less than a minute. On the Monday mailbag, former WWE referee Mike Chioda, who was assigned the bout, recalled the original plan for the match and how things changed. We had 15 to 18 or 22 minutes originally, got knocked down to like 12 minutes. I remember Rey had this badass cosplay, his gear was made, and he spent a lot of money on his gear. Samoa Joe had a different style. I remember it got knocked down to 12 to 15 minutes, and then when I got in the ring, Billy Kidman said, go home, like right away. Rey's in the ring already, did his entrance, Samoa Joe is coming down, and I'm like, Rey, they're saying go home right now. He's like, what? I'm like, I swear to God. He's like, Kyoto, are you messing with me? I'm like, no, I swear to God, he's telling me you've got to. I couldn't believe they did that to Rey, because I don't think they cut anybody else's match that night. They didn't cut anybody else's match or anything. It was just Joe and Rey's match. I felt bad. He just goes in there and kind of demolishes Rey and beats him. I felt bad for Rey. I really did. He was coming back. They had made some promise to him, or they're taking care of him now, him and Dom, which is cool. I think he was going through a little bit of stuff with the company, but he's totally rebounded. Ray is such a professional, and such a great person, man. A great guy, and he's one of my best friends. That was just a bad weekend that weekend, and that was my last WrestleMania. Earlier in the year, former WWE star Brian Kendrick was set for a match in AEW, but past comments of his would resurface. This led to AEW president Tony Khan announcing a replacement for the bout, with Kendrick never making his debut for the company. Kendrick has spoken about his belief for many conspiracy theories in the past, such as the Sandy Hook shooting being fake, as he reflected on these past comments while speaking to TMZ. When it gets thrown back in your face, 1, it's embarrassing, but 2, you start to reflect. You're forced to reflect on it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry for being so cold-hearted and trying to profit off of tragedy. I suppose it's what it was. I was trying to gain off of others' tragedies by making conspiracy to create a buzz for myself to gain some sort of bookings. It was a terrible idea, and even if it hadn't affected anybody, it's still just horribly embarrassing. I'm sorry for anybody, to people I hurt, for making light of stuff that happened to them or their family. I hope you accept that. Going back to his interview on the AEW Unrestricted podcast, Samoa Joe mentioned the feud between fans of WWE and AEW, as he said, "I do believe that the arguing between the AEW and WWE fans is simply ridiculous. Watch pro wrestling. You don't need to dunk on this. It is just you taking your ego in something you have nothing involved with and trying to start a conflict with something else. I mean, watch what you watch and enjoy what you want to enjoy. So I know you have this glorified view of what this sport is. You think we line up on each side and say, but the real war is us trying to entertain you people, not this ridiculousness between you all." Following the release of 10 NXT superstars from WWE, Andrew Zarian recently noted, "I want to clarify a convo we had on the air today regarding more releases. What I was told, talent is constantly evaluated on progress. Expect more releases soon and regularly regarding developmental talent. I made an error by saying very soon. With no timetable given, it remains to be seen when more stars will be let go." If you want to see more videos, check out Wrestling Zone, where we do biographies, lists, and more. So far, we've done videos on the Usos' younger brother, Solo Sikoa, Veer, and more. If you want to check these out and others, click the link in the description. And this was your Pro Wrestling News Update. I hope you're all having a great day. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you later.